police powers brazenly being misused to settle political scores, arrests of political opponents a sign of dictatorial mindset, has political discourse reached a new low? Is an apology enough in such cases? On our face-off tonight, I'm joined by Supriya Srinath, Congress spokesperson, and Syed Zafar Islam, the BJP spokesperson. Let's turn to both of you. First to Syed Zafar Islam, because clearly the BJP, which is in power in Assam, power in Delhi, has to answer the question. Have you misused police powers to deplane someone, arrest him for a comment he passed 4 days ago in a press conference, which he said was a slip of the tongue, and you put charges from conspiracy against the country to provoking religious disharmony to suggesting he's waging war against India? I mean, are you being absurd? I'm sorry to say, Syed Zafar Islam, have you lost the plot on this one?
Well, Rajdeep, you have the flexibility and freedom as a journalist to speak the way you are speaking. But everyone has to maintain certain decorum. Likewise, all of us have to maintain certain decorum, including the Congress spokesperson, for that matter, any other individual. But when you start abusing the Honorable Prime Minister, using such words, I mean, he is clearly abusing the Prime Minister, then if at all he wanted to apologize, he could have apologized at that point in time, but he didn't. And when you are targeting Prime Minister with all this
Nobody is justifying Mr. Khera's comments. Does it require the Assam police to call for the deplaning of Mr. Khera as if he's some kind of a terrorist? What is the message you are sending out? That in this country we have freedom of speech but no freedom after speech? Let's assume that he has said something which is insulting. Does it require this kind of action? Action must be proportionate to your crime. How is it waging war against India? How is it spreading religious disaffection under Section 153? For God's sake, Syed Zafar Islam, have we lost the plot as a country?
Not at all. There is a rule of law in this country, but when you cross the barrier or the limit which is set for every individual, then of course law of the land will take its own course, and that is what has happened. If there is an FIR against him in Assam, police has to take action against him. And which crime?
An FIR where the Assam police has to come as if there is something urgent, there's an emergency to pick him up and deplane him. Zafar Islam, you are stretching the boundaries of incredulity. For God's sake, you're an intelligent man. Is this what you believe? That the Assam police should come into a plane to pick up someone for a statement he has made in a press conference? Do you really believe that?
So what do you expect? No, Rajdeep, what do you expect? If you commit a crime, if you abuse the Honorable Prime Minister and you use such nasty words against him, and there is an FIR, if there is an FIR against you, will the police wait for him to travel to Assam? Or the police will take action and visit wherever he is and take law to its own course. What is wrong in it?
The Indian. What is wrong in it? Supriya,
he will be subject to.
Okay, you believe abusing the Prime Minister, which is of course a question whether that is sufficient, as I said, for calling it waging war against India. Mocking the Prime Minister means waging war against India. But Supriya Srinath, respond. According to Zafar Islam, there is a crime committed, and therefore Pawan Khera, the Assam police, had the right to execute an FIR.
Increasingly, I feel we live in a police state. Increasingly, I feel that this country has become a circus. Increasingly, I feel that people cannot go with their freedom of speech and expression. Pawan Khera had a slip of tongue. You play back his statement from that press conference and he says, sorry, Damodar Das Modi, and moves on. And that
it was not a slip of tongue. There I disagree, ma'am. It was a deliberate political attempt, which maybe people are entitled to. It was not a slip of tongue.
Let me please come back and answer a few things. I will go with the version that I have heard from him and the version that was told to the court, on the basis of which respite has been given. It was a slip of tongue. He apologized for it. They moved ahead and the press conference was over. I want to ask you a counter question. This was a slip of tongue. What would you say to deliberate statements made by India's Prime Minister? And because various statements of our leaders have been played, I want to play a short 20-second clip just for the viewers and let them decide, please.
ये कांग्रेस की कौन सी विधवा थी? बता दीजिए, इस देश में कभी किसी ने 50 करोड़ की गर्लफ्रेंड देखी है? दीदी, आदरणीय दीदी, ओ दीदी.
And not just this, Rajdeep, if you can please allow me the liberty to play something else, just for the benefit of your viewers again. Because I think people need to know the kind of language that India's Prime Minister has used. Another 10 seconds, please.
इसकी कौन सी विधवा थी?
Just 10 seconds.
हिमाचल के दौरे पर मौन
Supriya
मोहन सिंह
Shine,
आए थे. तो किसी के भी हाथों में
I have got...
One second, Rajdeep. One second. One second, Rajdeep.
बाथरूम में रेनकोट पहन करके नहाना, ये कला तो डॉक्टर साहब ही जानते हैं और कोई नहीं.
So, bathroom में रेनकोट पहनकर नहाना, said on the floor of the house. जर्सी गाय, कांग्रेस की विधवा, 50 करोड़ की गर्लफ्रेंड, दीदी ओ दीदी, खूनी पंजा, night watchman. These words have been used by India's Prime Minister. India's Prime Minister
But you all have
had a
also
slip of
used,
tongue
no, 1 minute,
when
you all
he
have
said
also
Beti
used words
Bachao,
like
Beti
Bhasmasur
Padhao.
and Ravan.
Are we suing
You
him
have
for this?
also used words like Bhasmasur and Ravan against Prime Minister. You see,
So
it's a
Rajdeep-
low-level discourse. My problem is not the discourse, it's the action which is disproportionate.
No,
It's
that's exactly
misusing
what my
police.
point is. That is exactly what my point is. If the Prime Minister is
Can I
so
just come?
touchy
Can I just come?
about any word that's said
no,
against
1
him,
minute,
and
sir.
this was clearly a slip of tongue, I want to understand, what does the Prime Minister want to do himself to raise the discourse? Is he raising the discourse when he calls my president Congress ki vidhva? Is he raising the discourse when he calls a legally wedded wife 50 crore ki girlfriend? Is he raising the discourse when he says raincoat pehnkar nahate hain, Dr. Saab? Is he raising the discourse? So do to others what you want them to do to you. If you are going to be debased and use this crass language, please expect people to pay you back in the same penny. It's actually quite as simple as that. But let me please put it on record here. The issue is neither Pawan Khera's attempted arrest, which was done, and then of course Supreme Court gave a respite. It is neither the ED raids during our plenary. It is actually only amounts to one thing, and
Can I
that
just
thing
come in,
is
please?
the connection between Gautam Adani and Narendra
Rajdeep,
Modi.
can I just
Today's
come in, please?
LICs, no, you cannot,
No,
I'm still talking. Today LIC's investments have turned negative. Is anybody speaking about that? LIC had invested a certain amount of money, 50,000 crore
I
of
will
that
debate
money has
Adani
been
later
lost
in the
Adani.
show today.
Who's speaking about that?
I
Which
will debate
regulator is looking into this?
Ms. Supriya Shine. I will debate Adani later in the show, but I want to focus today on police powers because I believe that is the real problem. The police is being used as a handmaiden to settle political scores. And Syed
The
Zafar
mighty-
Islam, today
sorry
it
to
is
say,
the
Rajdeep.
Assam police. 1 minute,
Rajdeep,
ma'am.
sorry to
Today,
say.
tomorrow it could be...
No,
No,
Rajdeep,
ma'am, this is a
Rajdeep,
country where journalists
Rajdeep,
have
one
been
second.
arrested, where
The mighty
cartoonists are
Indian
picked up.
state-
Please, ma'am. No. Okay,
Rajdeep,
just a
please
minute.
let me come
The
in.
mighty Indian state includes state
The
governments
mighty
and
Indian
center.
state.
It's not...
Small point.
Yes, very quickly, please.
The mighty Indian
Rajdeep, can I
state
just
is
come in,
scared
please?
of a 21-year-old climate activist. The mighty Indian state wants to go and raid the BBC. The mighty Indian state is scared of journalists. And what are people like Hemanta Biswa Sarma and Mr. Yogi doing? Sending their police all across the country. You picked up Jignesh Mavani, our MLA from Gujarat. What happened? Your High Court gave an order against you. The Guwahati High Court order gave a scathing order against you, and that's exactly what the Supreme Court has done today. When will
Okay,
you learn?
your
When
time,
will you stop
Supriya
using
Shine-
arbitrary police power
Supriya
against
Shine,
representatives
you've had
of
enough
people?
of time to
Rajdeep,
make your
it's a
point.
monologue,
I must
then
now allow
I-
a response. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Zafar Islam. Go ahead, please.
Rajdeep, first of all, it must be a temporary relief. The matter is in Supreme Court. I think one should wait till the next hearing, and let the judgment be pronounced by the Honorable Supreme Court. Then we will let her thrill with joy. But I am sure that there is enough meat for him to be behind the bar, and we will wait for the judgment to come from the Supreme Court. But let
On
me
what
remind
ground?
her
When
what
will
their
Mr. Modi
leaders
go
have
behind
spoken
bars?
about the Honorable Prime Minister.
1 minute, ma'am,
Tana
now.
Shah Satullah, I didn't interrupt you. Please listen to me.
go ahead.
Tana Shah, जो है, he was called rat. मौत का सौदागर. Who said this? रावण औकात दिखा देंगे. हिटलर की मौत मरेगा. So many nasty words they are using against the Prime Minister. But when you actually cross your limit, we didn't ask police to take action. We didn't go for any FIR, or no one has gone for FIR when you made this kind of a statement. Because we were tolerating it. But when you just cross the limit and using and abusing the Prime Minister, instead of his father's name, you are using somebody else's name, and it was intentional.
Sir, do you think the Prime Minister, Mr.
Mr.
Zafar Islam, Mr. Zafar Islam, I have two issues. Okay, I have two issues. When the Prime Minister used the word 50 crore
Yes,
girlfriend,
tell me.
is it okay? When you say someone is a Jersey cow and Congress ki vidwa, is it okay? You see, you can't bring the discourse down low, and then when others bring it down, you say, oh, look at what they are saying. The fact is, all our politicians and the Prime Minister of this country have brought the discourse down. That's the reality. A. Number two, let us assume that both sides have been responsible for this. Why use the police? Where is the police in this? What is the police going to do in these cases? That's what I keep asking you, sir.
Rajdeep,
Can I make a very small
who will
point,
take
please?
action against somebody who is
No, ma'am,
abusing
please
the Prime
don't intervene.
Minister? It is the police. Where the once the FIR has been filed, then it has to be executed. Who will execute? Will you execute?
No, what is
will
the-
I execute?
what is the
It
crime?
is the authority which has been
No,
given
what
the
is the
responsibility.
crime?
He will discharge the
For saying,
responsibility.
for
Crime is that
saying
he is
Narendra
abusing-
Gautam
he
Das
is
Adani,
abusing the Prime Minister.
Gautam
He
Das
is
Modi, what
using
is
the
the
words
crime?
which is totally...
What's the crime there?
Isn't it, can I
It's wrong. I agree with
in
you.
your
It's
name,
terrible.
Instead
It's
of your
mocking
father's
him.
name, Sardesai.
It's wrong.
No. Can I use Rajdeep Gautam Bhai? Will
I'm
it,
okay
will
with
it sound good?
I've got nothing
Obviously,
to hide.
your father's
I'm
name is
okay with
Sardesai,
it.
and that's what. No, you are okay with it.
Sir, I'm okay.
You are okay with it. Doesn't mean that everybody should be okay with it. No, you are okay because you
Okay,
want to
fair
tolerate such nonsense. Everybody will not tolerate, and
Very small
especially when
point,
it comes to
please.
Prime Minister, nobody will tolerate. And when there is an FIR,
Okay.
it has to be executed, and the police will put him behind the bar.
Okay, let me ask you therefore,
Rajdeep.
Supriya Shrinet, is the lesson somewhere, just a minute, ma'am, just as the BJP must learn the lesson of not misusing police powers that they have today in large parts of the country, will spokesperson like yourself, like Mr. Khera also recognize that sometimes you all are getting carried away and saying things which are offensive? And thereby, what you need to do is also improve the quality of discourse, not simply point out to the other person. This whataboutery also must end.
If getting carried away and saying insane, insulting or sick, not one spokesperson of the BJP will be able to speak in a straight sentence, whether in English or in Hindi. Ek shabd nahi bol payenge ye log. The kind of nonsensical things that the BJP spokespersons come and say about my leadership, about Pandit Nehru, and Mr. Modi follows them all. What exactly are we talking about? The reality is, just before the plenary, the agenda is very clearly decided. There are two ideologies in this country, one which is going to rule with the brute, majoritarian police force, and one that is going to listen to the people and articulate their concerns. If talking about unemployment,
Okay.
high prices, income inequality, women, and the Adani allegations is a serious crime, we will continue to commit this crime no matter what this government
You
does.
are
What will they
entitled
do?
to
They will
raise,
hang
but
us.
I think you
Let them come
also
and
need
hang
to
us.
raise
But
the
hum
level
sawal
of
to
political
पूछेंगे Adani
discourse.
पर
That's
आपसे.
the challenge. You have every right to raise questions. The manner in which you do can be looked at. But the fact is, misusing the police
Rajdeep,
has to stop. And it's happening across the country. And Zafar Islam, I think the least you can say is you accept. Tomorrow it could be you who's picked up by a police force in a Congress-ruled state. This must stop. And you must say that, because that is what we want as a country. The police is not your private militia. And it's time you all realize that, sir.
No.
The police is the country, has a rule of law.
Police is Rajdeep.
You're using it as a
You are
private
preaching
militia. All of
something
you.
which we already, no, you are preaching something which we already follow. Police is authority. They have to discharge their responsibility. If there is an FIR, especially when somebody has committed crime, if nobody takes action, then you will also, they will lose faith in police.
What is the crime?
And the policing what they are required
Zafar
to do.
Islam, what is the crime?
Crime is that
what is the crime? This is a country where
abusing the
murderers
Prime
get
Minister.
away.
Half of you will be behind jail.
Crime is
Abusing
that
the Prime
he-
Minister
he-
cannot
he-
be a
he-
crime that allows you to deflame someone.
No, just a second.
That is not a crime that
He's
fits.
not only
The
abusing the Prime
punishment
Minister,
must
he's
fit the
trying
crime.
to create...
चक्की पीसेंगे
No,
ये
no,
याद
he-
रखिएगा आप
He's hurting the sentiments,
The reality
religious
is this.
sentiments.
Half
He
of
is
you will be
creating
behind
enmity
bars.
between the
Religious-
societies. He is trying
Serving
to
a
break
jail
the
term.
society, mislead the people and
What is enmity?
especially,
What enmity was
especially,
created? What
and especially the
sentiment was hurt?
OBC,
You
he
don't
was
even
targeting
sound sane.
OBC.
Do you realize
That's
that,
why
right?
it is
You
important
He was
for
targeting-
everyone to learn the lesson that you have to have a political discourse which
Oh
is something
my
which
God.
is
Oh
acceptable
my
to the
God.
society and
You know,
even
you
Okay,
guys
what has
really
made this
lost
kind of
I
your
leave it
movement.
there.
Completely lost
Okay,
your
I
marbles.
leave it there. I leave it there, ma'am.
You
I
sound
appreciate
insane.
both of
We
you
have
joining us.
elected a
It's an
clown and we are
unfortunate
seeing a-
moment when, as I said, this country has freedom of speech, but it doesn't seem to increasingly have freedom after speech.